Hello dear students, I am Dr. Nikita Valluri, working as an assistant professor in Sri Datta Institute of Pharmacy. So in the last class we have discussed the psychiatric disorder called schizophrenia, and now in this class today we are going to start with a new topic, that is affective disorders. Affective disorders are also called as mood disorder. The other name for affective disorder is mood disorders. So these affective disorders, it is characterized by two different types of disorders. One is major depressive disorder and bipolar affective disorder. So what do you mean by major depressive disorder? So it is a clinical course characterized by one or more major depressive episodes with the history of manic or hypomanic episodes. That means depression will be followed by manic episode. Mania means being hyperactive and aggressive. That condition is called as maniac and or hypomanic episodes. So usually major depressive episodes were associated with the history of manic or hypomanic episodes. Then we call it as major depressive disorder. Okay. And then bipolar disorder. Again, this bipolar disorder is of two types. That is bipolar 1 disorder and bipolar 2 disorder. So what is bipolar 1 disorder? At least one manic episode which may have been preceded by and may be followed by hypomanic or major depressive episodes. That means it has a single manic episode which is followed by hypomanic or major depressive episodes. So one manic episode may be followed by either hypomanic or depressive episode, then we call it as bipolar 1 disorder. Then what is bipolar 2? At least one hypomanic episode previously, and now current also the patient should be having current or past major depressive episode, that we call it as bipolar 2 disorder. So bipolar means the patient will be having simultaneously or precedingly or followed by one hypomanic episode or manic episode followed by depression. Again it is followed by manic or depression. So there is recurrent attacks or repeating attacks of both depressive disorders and manic episodes. Then we call it as bipolar disorder. So that the classical example is, you have seen that 3 movie, in that Dhanush is having bipolar disorder. And then coming to introduction and epidemiology. So these mood disorders, they are manifested as either manic or depressive episodes. So mood disorders are nothing but affective disorders which affects the normal well-being of the human being. So that is the reason they are also called as affective disorders. So they are manifested as either manic or depressive episodes. And then the lifetime risk of depression varies from 10 to 15%, with the risk being twice in women than in men. So the risk of getting this bipolar disorder or depression or these manic episodes, this is more seen in women compared to men. So women are more at like twice the rate, women are more at risk of getting these depressive disorders. And also depression has multifactorial etiology. So that means depression has a number of causes to get this depression. And then the disorder may manifest at any age, but the incidence seems to peak in 20s. That means that so it may occur at any age of life, but mostly this is commonly seen in the peak age of 20s. Why? Because there will be in that age, during that age there will be changes in these hormonal changes or behavioral changes, or these changes can be seen in the early 20s. So there is more chance or more incidence it seems to be present in 20s, at the age of 20. And it may have a variable course, but if it is untreated it can run into a chronic disorder or disabling course. So if it is diagnosed in the earlier stages and got treated, it's okay. If it is not treated, it will be converted into a chronic disorder. And then so because of that reason, early identification and treatment will increase the likelihood of remission. That means it can be become to normal if early diagnosis was done, and immediately if the treatment was done, then there will be fast recovery can be seen, and there will not be any recurrent attacks. So early diagnosis and treatment is very much important in treating any psychiatric disorders. So here is a classification of mood disorders. So international classification of diseases, that is ICD-10. So which came into use, like according to ICD-10, these were classified into different types. Manic episode being more hyperactive and aggressive or euphoric stage, that we call it as manic episode. Bipolar affective disorder, that means depressions followed by mania, or hypomania followed by depression. So there is continuously alterations of these two types of disorders. Depressive episode means there will be for a longer duration the patient will be in depression, which is followed by first there will be manic or hypomania, and which is followed by chronic depression. So that is called as depressive episode. And recurrent depressive disorder, that means depression will be continuing even after the treatment. Once if it stopped also, again there will be recurrent attacks of this depressive disorder. Persistent mood or affective disorders, that means continuously even on taking medications there will be persistence of the disorder. And other disorders, and unspecified mood disorder. So this is how the classification of mood disorders was done according to ICD-10. So here are the causes of depression and also risk factors. So the risk factors for depression include female gender. Why? Because females are twice the risk of getting this getting this depression. And age less than 40 years, especially seen in 20 to 30. And impaired interpersonal relationships. So interpersonal relationships, if there is no proper relationship between wife and husband or any other. So impaired interpersonal relationships, divorced or widowers, family history of depression, negative life events. And then causes of depression include, I said there are n number of causes for depression. It includes genetical changes, brain chemistry imbalance, poor nutrition, physical health issue, drugs, addiction to certain drugs, or use of certain medications of either like antipsychotics or any neurological drugs if they are taking, which may cause the signs of depression, that also cause, and stress. So these were the causes of depression. It includes genetics, brain chemistry imbalance, poor nutrition, physical health issues, drugs, and stress. So these were the causes of depression. And now coming to pathophysiology of depression. So it has certain hypotheses. So according to these hypotheses will be, so there is no exact pathophysiology for any psychiatric disorders. So these were like just hypotheses or assumptions. So biogenic amine hypothesis, according to that, there will be decrease in the brain levels of norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine, so which may cause depression. So because of decrease in the neurotransmitters like norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine, they'll get depression. That is one hypothesis, that is biogenic amine hypothesis. According to this, there will be decrease in the neurotransmitters like norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine. Okay. And second is postsynaptic changes in receptor sensitivity. So the changes on the receptor sensitivity. So it has shown that desensitization or downregulation of norepinephrine or 5-HT1A receptors may relate to onset of antidepressant effects. So this doesn't come after this. This is not identified earlier. Only when the patient got responding to these medications, so it was found that the patient is like the antidepressant effects can be seen if we are giving the medications like which will negotiate or 5-HT1 receptors and which will desensitize these 5-HT1A receptors and norepinephrine receptors. So from this they came to a conclusion that desensitization or downregulation of norepinephrine or 5-HT1A can cause antidepressant effects, right? That is what it is. And next, dysregulation hypothesis. So it emphasizes a failure of homeostatic regulation of neurotransmitter systems. Dysregulation, that means there will be imbalance in the homeostasis of neurotransmitters and also increase or decrease in their activities. Either there, if depressive kind of neurotransmitters were increased, it causes depression. Excitatory neurotransmitters are more, then it causes excitation. So according to this, it states that because of the imbalance between these neurotransmitters, we'll get this bipolar disorder or hypomanic disorder or any depression. And also effective antidepressants may restore efficient regulation. That means after using proper antidepressants, there will be control on this disease. And then 5-HT or norepinephrine link hypothesis. 5-HT and norepinephrine. So these activities are linked, and thus serotonergic and noradrenergic systems are involved in the antidepressant treatment. So it just name itself indicates 5-HT is serotonergic, norepinephrine is noradrenergic system. So these two systems were interlinked. So if we target on these links and providing the medicines according to that, they will show some antidepressant activity. And the role of dopamine, according to several studies conducted, it showed that increased dopamine activity in the mesolimbic pathway contributes to antidepressant activity. So if you are giving this dopamine, or if there is increase in the dopamine levels, then it causes antidepressant. So for that reason, dopamine also can be used for antidepressant. And a disruption of brain-derived neurotrophic factor expression. So it takes place in the hippocampus and may be associated with depression. So all these were the hypotheses, but there is no exact or clear-cut idea about the pathophysiology of depression. So all this, what we have seen, there is changes in neurotransmitters. That's it, right? Norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine. So because of the changes in these neurotransmitters, and also because of this desensitization of these postsynaptic receptors of neurotransmitters, this depression can be seen, and also treatment can also be targeted on these changes in these neurotransmitters. And then coming to clinical presentations, so it is of 4 different types, that is emotional symptoms, physical symptoms, intellectual or cognitive symptoms, psychomotor disturbances. So emotional symptoms include diminished ability to experience pleasure. So they'll not respond even, they'll not feel happy for even for big things also they'll not feel happy. So they'll be unable to experience the pleasure, and they'll not lack of interest in even in normal activities, always being sad, always crying, always feeling hopeless, anxiety and guilt feeling. Psychotic features like auditory hallucinations and delusions also can be seen. So these were the emotional symptoms. What are they? So they'll not feel happy, they'll lose interest in things, sadness, crying, hopelessness, anxiety, guilt feeling, hallucinations and delusions. And then coming to physical symptoms include fatigue, pain, always especially headache, they'll be complaining, sleep disturbances, decreased or increased appetite. Some people they'll be hungry, some people they'll not feel at all hungry, loss of sexual interest, and GI and cardiovascular complaints also can be seen, like palpitations can be seen. So these were the physical symptoms. And next, coming to intellectual or cognitive symptoms. Intellectual or cognitive, that means uh, decreased ability to concentrate or slowed process of thinking, poor memory and confusion, so indecisiveness. So all this comes under intellectual or cognitive symptoms. And then psychomotor disturbances, psychomotor retardation, that means decreased physical activity, slowed physical movements. If we are asking them to pick up a pen, they'll not pick up like this, they'll take slowly like this. So that is slowed physical movement, slowed thought process and speech, or psychomotor agitation. So these were the psychomotor disturbances. Emotional symptoms, physical symptoms, intellectual or cognitive symptoms, and psychomotor disturbances. So these are the clinical presentations of depression. And then coming to pathophysiology of bipolar disease, it was found that certain medicines, medications, medical conditions, treatments also induce mania. And also it is influenced by developmental, genetical, neurobiological and psychological factors. And also certain genes were also involved as a hereditary, and environmental or psychological stressors, immunological factors are also associated with bipolar disease. So here is a list showing the secondary causes of mania. What are the medical conditions? like brain tumors, stroke, head injury, subdural hematoma, multiple sclerosis, systemic lupus erythematosus, temporal lobe seizures, and Huntington's disease. These were the CNS disorders. Infections like encephalitis, neurosyphilis, sepsis, HIV, electrolyte or metabolic abnormalities, calcium or sodium fluctuations, hypoglycemia, endocrine or hormonal dysregulation. So these were the medical conditions that can induce mania. And then medications. The medications like alcohol intoxication, that means having a lot of alcohol in a single day in large quantity. Drug withdrawal states like alcohol withdrawal syndrome or alpha-adrenergic agonists, antidepressants, barbiturates. Sudden withdrawal of any drugs also causes bipolar disease. And antidepressants, it includes MAO inhibitors, tricarboxylic acids, 5-HTs, norepinephrine, dopamine reuptake inhibitors, 5-HT antagonists, and hallucinogens like LSD. The LSD is nothing but it's a drug. These were the drugs. Marijuana, steroids, thyroid preparations, xanthines, non-prescription weight loss agents, decongestants, herbal products. So these also induce mania. And somatic therapies that induce mania include bright light therapy, deep brain stimulation, sleep deprivation. So these therapies also induce mania. So this is the pathophysiology. That there is no pretty much clear pathophysiology. It was found that there are certain causes which may cause mania or bipolar disease. So these were the secondary causes. The above list will be showing, which we have discussed now. These were thought to be the secondary causes of mania. And then coming to clinical presentation. So it may occur sequentially with or without a period of depression or mood between. So that means it will be continuously having manic episodes, or sometimes there will be sequential of manic episode, depression, manic, depression, manic, or manic, depression, depression, manic. So this is a sequential process, and there can be mood fluctuations that continue for months or after one episode of the years without recurrence of any type of mood episode. That means there may be fluctuations in their mood, continuous fluctuations in their mood for 1 month, or after a single episode, if they were treated, again, there will not be any other episodes. And after a longer duration with a long gap, again, they may get this kind of recurrent attacks. So that is how it is presented. And major depressive episode. So delusions like fixed false beliefs that conflict with reality. So they'll fix one thing in their mind, and however we want to prove them, they'll not listen. Whatever they think right, that only they'll be continuing. So they'll be having fixed false beliefs, that we call it as delusions. Hallucinations. So hallucination is nothing but, even though they'll be feeling something which is not there, like a perception of having seen something, heard something, they were being touched, tasted, or smelled something that was not actually there. That we call it as hallucinations. And suicide attempts are more common in bipolar depression than in unipolar depression. So suicidal attempts were more common in bipolar depression. And then manic episode. So acute mania, it usually have the symptoms of bizarre behavior. That means they'll be so arrogant, and hallucinations, paranoid delusions may occur. And also because of these activities, they will be impaired in their functioning. And it was thought to be that these were caused by some sort of stressors, sleep deprivation, antidepressants, CNS stimulants, and bright light. So because of these manic episode may be generated. And then hypomanic episodes. So there is no impairment in the social or occupational functioning. So there will not much difference can be identified in this hypomanic episode. There will not be any delusions or hallucinations, and they may be productive than usual. That means they'll respond fast compared to these manic episodes. And 5% to 15% of patients may rapidly switch to a manic episode. Like initially they'll be having hypomanic episode. In some patients, they will be immediately getting changed to this manic episode. and also they will be having suicidal tendency. And then coming, this is all about the clinical findings of mania. Then coming to diagnosis of depression. So it is characterized by one or more major episodes of depression, and five or more of the following. So about the list, here is a list. In that list, at least five or more of them is there. Then we can consider it as a depression. Weak period and cause significant distress or impairment. Depressed mood or loss of interest or pleasure must be present in adults. So always they'll be in the mood of, and diminished interest or pleasure in almost all activities. They'll not participate in any activities. Weight loss or weight gain, that means because of increased appetite or decreased appetite, they'll have severe weight loss or severe weight gain. Insomnia or hypersomnia, that means completely they'll not sleeplessness or more sleeping, that is hypersomnia. More, so insomnia or hypersomnia. And psychomotor agitation or retardation, fatigue or loss of energy, feeling of worthlessness or feeling guilty, and diminished concentration or decreased concentration, which is also called as indecisiveness. Among all these, at least five or more are there, then we can consider it as depression. And also recurrent thoughts of death, that means suicidal tendency, suicidal ideation without a specific plan. So they'll be planning like how to commit suicide, suicide attempt or plan for committing suicide. So already they may have a history of suicidal attempt, or they are planning for any committing this suicide. So above all this, we can if there are any five, then we can consider it as depression. And it doesn't need any history of manic like or hypomanic episodes, unless they are using any substance or medical, or if they are using any drugs like LSDs, or any, if they're using any other antipsychotic medications. So the diagnosis requires a medical review, physical examination, mental status examination, complete blood count with differential count, thyroid function test, and electrolyte determination. So why? Because electrolyte abnormalities also cause this depression. So it requires medication review, physical examination, mental status examination, complete blood count with differential count, thyroid function test, and electrolyte determinations. So these were the laboratory tests and physical examination, mental status examination. And many chronic illness and substance abuse and dependence disorders are associated with depression. Like chronic illness, so if they are having chronic illness, they'll be always depressed. And substance abuse, like taking any drugs, marijuana, so these people also will be having depression. Dependence disorders, so like any other psychological disorders, so these people will be having depression. And the medications with depression include many antihypertensives, oral contraceptives, isotretinoin, interferon beta 1A, and many others also cause depression. And then diagnosis of bipolar disease. So medical, psychiatric and medication history, physical examination, and laboratory testing were also done to rule out the causes of mania or depression. So evaluation of the diagnosis of mood episodes. So major depressive episode, there will be impairment functioning or need for hospitalization, yes. And DSM-IV-TR criteria, that is greater than 2 weeks period of depression, depressed sad mood, decreased interest, pleasure in normal activities, decreased appetite, weight loss, or increased appetite and weight gain, insomnia or hypersomnia, psychomotor retardation or agitation, fatigue, feeling of guilt, impaired concentration, decision making, suicidal thoughts. And mania, so that is greater than 1 period of abnormal, persistent, elevated mood, irritable, and inflated self-esteem, that is grandiosity means feeling so high, decreased need for sleep, that means insomnia, increased talking, continuous restlessly they'll be talking, Racing thoughts, that is flight or fights, like within fraction of seconds these ideas will be changing. Distractible, poor attention, they will not keep concentration on a single thing, immediately they'll get distracted. Increased activity socially, at work or sexually, so either sexual hyperactivity or normal physical hyperactivity can be seen. Increased motor activity or agitation. Excessive involvement in activities that are pleasurable but have a high risk of serious consequences, like buying sprees, sexual indiscretions, poor judgment in business ventures. So these were the things to be monitored, to be asked to the patient. Hypomanic, there is no requirement of hospitalization. So at least 4 days of abnormal or persistent, excuse me. Irritable, inflated self-esteem, decreased. So same kind of things which we have seen in mania, but with less aggressiveness. Mixed means they requires hospitalization. So it includes the criteria for both mania and depression. Rapid cycling. Yes, that means one major depression or manic episode in 12 months. So continuous, there is recurrent attacks of depression and mania within 12 months, then we call it as rapid cycling. Cycling of this process, like mania, depression, so that we call it as rapid cycling. So this is all about the diagnosis of depression and bipolar disease. In the next class, we will be discussing the treatment. Thank you all.